can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by the always entertaining, always knowledgeable Elliot Grigg. We're here in final prediction modes, the two of us, for an intriguing super lightweight fight this weekend in Monte Carlo as Sean McComb faces Hugo Micallef, the Monaco-based fighter fighting in his own nation on Saturday. IBF super welterweight or super lightweight European title on the line. Yeah, very intriguing one this, Elliot. The unbeaten Micallef against the tricky Sean McComb, finally getting a chance again after the Barboza fight to fight on a big card. Makes it where there'll be a lot of eyeballs on him. So yeah, let's get straight into it. What is your final prediction for Sean McComb and Hugo Micallef?
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna much to your joy and your accent. I'm gonna go for a Sean McComb victory in this one. Frankly, the intrigue for me actually is whether McComb can stop him. You know, whether he can stop him or whether he's not necessarily a big puncher. Obviously, 5 KOs in what 30, 25, 20 victories. Sorry, Micallef also not a very big puncher. So I suppose in some ways, I mean, he's got 3-11. So in some ways, you might be wise to back the UD maybe victory for Sean McComb here, but. Part of me just wonders whether we might get him out of there late, but I'm gonna say like head. Smart money would go McComb points. Maybe I could see a late stoppage around sort of 8, 9, 10. Because there's definitely a golfing class there. Sean McComb's been in with a lot better fighters, obviously, than this other lad. This other lad's fought in sort of like, what, 6 rounders, had an 8 rounder, which didn't go the distance. So it's never actually gone this distance either. So I'd expect Sean McComb to have too much. And like you said, Sean McComb's been in with Barbosa. Obviously had that weird kind of aberration where we got stopped by Gavin Gwynn, which is quite strange to me. But then obviously, in the likes of Sam Maxwell, Ben Crocker, those sort of names. So for me, I think he's campaigned at the better, obviously far better CV, and I expect him to sort of win convincingly, whether that's by late stoppage or by points. But Sean McComb victory, dominant victory. How about yourself?
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm going to be find it hard not to sound biased here with my fellow my fellow countrymen, but yeah, I am going for a Sean McComb win. I'll go for kind of a UD. I will go for the decision, as you made a good point. Neither of them big punchers whatsoever. So the safe money is whether you have McComb or Micallef. Safe money is fight to go the distance this weekend if you're placing a bet. But yeah, I'm going for Sean McComb. I, from what I've seen of Hugo Micallef, and I'm not claiming I'm an avid fan, but from what I've seen. I think he's a tidy fighter. He's a decent boxer. Solid fundamentals, quick hands, good combination puncher. What it comes down to for me, though, I don't see an area where he better Sean McComb, should I say? He doesn't have that kind of power to maybe stop him in his tracks. But yeah, I'm going for a Sean McComb UD. As I said, it's a big stage again that he was looking to fight on since the Barboza fight, and I think that's where we're going to see the best of him. I think it rise to the occasion of the big night, the bright lights. And yeah, it's a big card this Saturday. So yeah, we're both going for a Sean McComb win here. Just before we kind of wrap up, you know, I'll ask you about Sean McComb a little bit. He has struggled to kind of get the big fights since that Barboza fight. He was linked with names such as Azim, Dalton Smith, even Devin Haney. I heard him mention on in an interview with our own Paul McCluskey, yeah, that he got Paul Kelly, that he got offered the Devin Haney fight last October. Do you think he can mix it with these names and maybe pick up a world title? I know it's a very stacked division at the minute.
It's a hard thing to say, but I think probably not. To be honest with you, I think, like you say, it's a stacked division. I think a world title would be a push too far. I think he's a tricky and talented opponent, Sean McComb. And he give anyone a kind of challenge to unpick. Like I say, he's not a massive puncher though, so I mean, you do worry if he came up against some of the other bigger punchers in that division. I also think kind of like the Dalton Smith, obviously fighting, isn't he, in the new year as well. And like, Adam Azim's profile is so high. I wonder whether Adam Azim would he fight someone like Sean McComb? I don't know. I think it'd be a good fight, to be honest with you. I'll probably back Adamson to stop him, but I think it'd be a good fight. I'm just not sure whether he would land that as a name or what the intrigue would be. I mean, if he wins this, obviously, be European, champion at the weight as well. So maybe there's intrigue there. But I think world level is pushing it. But I do think there's sort of fights, maybe if he can manage it around the sort of domestic scene, especially, then that should be probably the way he goes. To be perfectly honest with you, but I do think he's a good opponent. If maybe on one of those cards, if Adam Azim or someone was coming off a layoff and we're like, I want a challenging opponent, essentially, maybe he could sort of fill in there. But I don't see him kind of. I mean, you talk about Haney. I'm not sure that's the fight that anyone wants to see necessarily. Apart from myself, no. You get down the SEC, wherever get down, whoever get down there, and But yeah, I don't think. Yeah, not for me personally at world level, but I think he's a fantastic fighter and a tricky opponent for anyone on his night.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Sean McComb's biggest problem is going to be getting these fights. Landing these big names. I'm not saying people are ducking him or scared of him, but it's that kind of high risk, low reward. He's an awful, awkward night to work for a lot of fighters, and
Mm.
these people, the likes of Dalton Smith, Adam Azine, they'll have kind of more lucrative fish to fry, should I say? But yeah, I think talent-wise, again, trying to not sound too biased, but talent-wise, he is a handful. We've seen it against
Mm.
Barboza, that he can mix it at that level. But I just think, I think these fights will pass him by, to be quite honest with you. But credit to Hugo Micallef as well, by the way, for kind of putting his unbeaten record on the line against somebody like Sean McComb. I think it's going to be a really tricky night for him. So credit to him for wanting that smoke. But yeah, I will preface it by saying as well, and I know it's not a great way to end the video, but I don't think this fight is going to be hugely entertaining on Saturday night, should I say. Stylistically, I think, I can't see these two gelling particularly well, but credit to both men for taking it. And yeah, let's see what happens. But that's myself and Elliot Grigg with our final predictions on this one for Sean McComb returning to the ring in Monte Carlo this Saturday night against the unbeaten native of Monaco, Hugo Micallef. IBF Super Lightweight European title on the line. Let us know what you think in the comments. Are you agreeing with us with a Sean McComb win? Are you going with Micallef to maintain his own unbeaten record? Let us know. Get involved down below. And as always, don't forget to please drop a like on the video first of all. If you're not doing so already, hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. And follow us on all social media. Always great content on a regular basis. So yeah, Elliot, it was a pleasure as always. Take care.
Thank you very much, Niall. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.